The voicemail wasn't meant for me. Discovering your wife's affair usually happens by accident. In my case, it was Jennifer from accounting, drunk dialing our home phone and slurring something about hope the romantic getaway with Mark was worth missing Eli's birthday. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stood in the kitchen, still wearing the ridiculous paper party hat from Eli's birthday, staring at the blinking red light. Rachel had called earlier with her excuse, an emergency client meeting in Boston. I'd told Eli his mom loved him and was busy with work. All lies. I hit play again. Jennifer's voice, slurring, cheerfully asked Rachel about her getaway with Mark. Mark. The Marriott. Romantic getaway. I wasn't shaking. Instead, cold clarity settled in. I walked to my office and powered up my laptop. I started by checking our joint bank account. Nearly $8,000 had vanished in the last 3 months, cash withdrawals here and there. Then the credit card statements, charges from a jewelry store, restaurants, hotels, in cities I didn't recognize, all timed with her business trips. Her laptop was still open. I found emails from Mark going back months, subject lines like, missing you, can't wait for next weekend, about last night. She'd even hidden a Google Calendar, color-coded red for their meetups. By the time the sun came up, I felt like I was preparing for a battle. Rachel walked in, tired but satisfied. She kissed Eli and barely glanced at me. How was the meeting? I asked calmly. Exhausting, she said. The client was impossible. At least you got the deal, right? Totally worth it. I nodded, watching Eli talk about his birthday party and his new bike. Rachel checked her phone, distracted. I need to go to Philadelphia next weekend, she said, her eyes still on the screen. No problem, I said, smiling. After she went to bed, I called my lawyer, Tom Brennan. I laid everything out, voicemail, bank statements, emails, and he confirmed I had a strong case. You've got everything we need, financial infidelity, emotional abandonment, and her own words, Tom said. How long? I asked. Could be 6 months if she fights it. If not, maybe 60 days. I want primary custody of Eli, I said. Tom made notes. Given her behavior, I think you'll get it. 2 weeks later, Tom filed for divorce. Rachel was served at work, in front of her co-workers. I moved money around, protected my assets, and hired a private investigator to dig into Mark. Mark Thompson, 41. Vice president at a real estate firm, divorced, no kids. He'd been Rachel's boyfriend in college. They reconnected 2 years ago, and the affair had been ongoing for at least 18 months. The rage hit me then, cold and deep. Rachel had chosen Mark over our 7-year-old son. She'd missed birthdays, bedtimes, all for him. I texted David. I want to know their next meetup. Date, time, location. Rachel took the divorce hard. That night, she demanded to know what I was thinking. I'm thinking you've been screwing your ex-boyfriend for the last 18 months, I said. I'm done. Matt, please, she begged. It was a mistake. We can fix this. No, I said. You missed Eli's birthday for another man. You've stolen from our joint account. What exactly am I supposed to fix? I'll pay back the money. We can do counseling. I want a divorce. She stared, shocked. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. What about Eli? What about our family? I laughed. You should have thought about that before you chose Mark over us. Her face hardened. How did you find out? Does it matter? Was it Jennifer? It doesn't matter how I found out. What matters is that I did. She went pale. How do you know about Philadelphia? I stared at her until she looked away. Matt, I love you, she whispered. No, you don't. You love what I provide. But you don't love me. Maybe you never did. That's not fair. I set down the wooden spoon carefully. Fair? Here's what's fair. I get primary custody. You get supervised visitation. I'm keeping the house, and you'll pay child support. You wouldn't. I would. She called her father that night. Gerald called me an hour later. Matt, what the hell is going on? He demanded. Rachel says you're divorcing her over some misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding. It's an 18-month affair. Silence. You're certain? I have emails, bank statements, hotel receipts, and a PI's report. Yes, I'm certain. More silence. And you're set on the divorce? Completely. About Eli? I'm getting primary custody. Rachel can visit once she gets her priorities straight. Gerald sighed. You're probably right. God help me, but you're probably right. David called 2 days before Rachel's trip to Philadelphia. They're booked at the Rittenhouse Hotel, Presidential Suite, Friday and Saturday night. Perfect, I said. Matt, what are you planning? Nothing illegal. That's not what I asked. I'm just returning some property that doesn't belong to them. Uh-huh. Don't worry, David. I'm always smart. It's my best quality. On Friday afternoon, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Eli was at school, Rachel at the airport, and I had a 6-hour drive ahead of me. Mark Thompson's condo building was sleek, modern, with a doorman barely looking up as I walked past with a toolbox. I was dressed like a maintenance worker. No one questions a man with a toolbox. I didn't go to his condo. Instead, I went to the parking garage. His BMW was right where David said it would be. I walked past it twice, making sure the cameras couldn't see. Then, I knelt like tying my shoe and slashed the tires with a utility knife, leaving a note. Adultery has consequences. Next, I drove to the Rittenhouse Hotel, pretending to be Mark, and arranged champagne and roses. I used their business center to send an email from a burner account to his boss. Concerning Mark Thompson, he's having an affair with a married client, Rachel Harper, at the Rittenhouse Hotel this weekend. This is a professional liability for your firm. I hit send, logged out, and drove home. Saturday morning, Eli and I made pancakes. Rachel called twice, but I let it go to voicemail. The first message was confused, the second, angry. I deleted them both. Sunday evening, Rachel came home early. She looked terrible. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Matt, someone sent his boss an email. He could lose his job. That's unfortunate, I said, not looking up. Did you do this? Rachel, I've been home all weekend with Eli. You can check anything. You're going to ruin everything. No, Rachel. You already did that. She left crying. We'd been sleeping separately since she got served with divorce papers. Tom called Monday. Your wife's lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate. Already? They want to settle before it gets uglier. What are they offering? Split custody, 50-50 assets, no child support. I'll counter with primary custody to me, 70-30 split of assets in my favor, and she pays child support. Tom sighed. That's aggressive. She stole from our joint account for an affair. I'm being fair. The next weeks were a blur of legal papers. Rachel and I barely spoke, and Mark went quiet. According to David, he wasn't seeing Rachel anymore. The email had scared him, and his firm put him on leave pending an investigation. Then I got a call from an unknown number 1 Wednesday night. Matt Harper? It was Mark. No, we don't. Listen, I don't know your problem, but you need to stop. I haven't done anything to you. Rachel says a lot of things. Most of them are lies. Stay away from me. Gladly. And Mark, stay away from my wife. She won't be my wife much longer. The next morning, David called. Mark filed a police report. They don't have evidence, though. Good. You've made your point. Her life is falling apart. I thought about Eli's birthday party, the blinking light. Not yet. One more thing. They've got a trip planned to New York next weekend. Rachel says it's for work. How do you know it's not work? Because Mark just booked 2 tickets to JFK. I'm going to have a conversation with them. That's all. David sighed. You're not the same guy who hired me a month ago. No, I agreed. I'm not. JFK Airport on a Friday evening is chaos. Thousands of people rushing through terminals, dragging luggage, yelling at each other, trying to make connections. Perfect place for a public confrontation. I'd flown in that morning, told Eli I had a business meeting in New York, left him with my sister. I'd tracked Rachel's flight, United 1247, landing at 7:45 p.m. Mark was on the same flight. They'd booked seats separately, trying to be discreet, but I knew better. I waited in the arrivals area, wearing sunglasses and a Yankees cap, just another tired traveler. When they came through the gate, they were walking together, not touching, but close, laughing about something. Mark was carrying both their bags. Rachel looked happy, younger somehow, like the weight of our failing marriage had lifted off her shoulders. I waited until they were 10 feet away. Then I stepped into their path. "Hey, Rachel." She stopped like she'd hit a wall. Mark looked confused, then recognition dawned, then something like fear. "Matt, what are you doing here?" "Same thing you are, surprising my wife." I smiled at Mark. "Good to finally meet you in person. I'm Matt, the husband." Mark's face went red. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble." "No trouble. Just wanted to have a conversation. See, Rachel's been telling our son she's in New York for work. Business meeting with a client. Important presentation. But I knew that was bullshit, because Rachel doesn't have any clients in New York. So I thought I'd come verify. And look, here you both are, taking a romantic weekend getaway while our son sits at home wondering why his mother keeps lying to him. People were staring now. A few had their phones out. "Matt, don't do this," Rachel said quietly. "Please." "Do what? Tell the truth?" "I thought you liked the truth, Rachel." "Oh wait, no, you like lies." "My mistake." "You're making a scene." "I'm making a point. There's a difference." I turned to Mark. "How's work going, by the way? I heard you got put on leave. Professional ethics investigation. That's gotta be stressful." Mark's face went from red to white. You sent that email." "What email?" "You know what email. You tried to get me fired." "I didn't try anything, Mark. I just provided information. What your boss did with it isn't my responsibility. Kinda like what you did with my wife isn't your responsibility, right? That's all her. You're just the innocent bystander who happens to be sleeping with a married woman." "She told me you two were separated," Mark said, and he actually sounded defensive. "She said you were getting divorced, that it was basically over." I laughed. "When did she tell you that? A year ago? 2 years? Because we weren't separated until I filed papers a month ago, and we're not divorced yet. But sure, Mark, whatever helps you sleep at night." Rachel grabbed my arm. "Stop it. Just stop." I pulled away from her. "You don't get to touch me anymore. You don't get to ask me for anything anymore. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." "I made mistakes," she said, and her voice broke. "I know I did. But this, whatever you're doing, it's not fixing anything. It's not meant to fix anything. It's meant to make sure you understand exactly what you threw away." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she and Mark could hear. "You had a good life, Rachel. A husband who loved you, a son who needed you, a home, stability, everything most people spend their whole lives trying to build. And you threw it away for what? Excitement? Validation? Some fantasy about who you used to be in college? Matt, I'm not finished. You stole from our family. You lied to our son. You prioritized this affair over everything else in your life. And now you're standing here, in an airport, on another trip funded with money that should have gone to Eli's future, and you're asking me to stop? To just let you keep destroying our family? You're the one destroying it, she said, tears running down her face. You're the one who filed for divorce. You're the one who won't forgive me. You're right. I won't forgive you, because you're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. If Jennifer hadn't made that drunk phone call, you'd still be lying to me right now. you'd still be stealing from our accounts and missing our son's birthdays and pretending to be the perfect wife while you slept with your ex-boyfriend. Mark stepped forward. Okay, that's enough. You need to leave. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was taller than me, better looking, probably made more money, everything Rachel had wanted. No, I said simply. You need to understand something. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be in Eli's life every single day, being his father, taking him to school, helping with homework, showing up for every birthday and soccer game and school play. And you know what you're going to be? A story he barely remembers. The guy his mom threw her family away for. The reason his parents got divorced. You're going to be the villain in his story, Mark. Both of you are. And there's nothing you can do to change that. Rachel was sobbing now, mascara running down her face, people openly staring. Mark looked like he wanted to hit me, but he was smart enough not to. I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket and held it out to Rachel. These are the finalized custody papers. My lawyer sent them to yours today. You get supervised visitation every other weekend. I get primary custody, the house, the savings accounts, everything that wasn't already stolen. Your lawyer can fight it, but we both know you'll lose. The evidence is overwhelming. She didn't take the envelope, just stared at it like it was a snake. Take it, I said. She shook her head, still crying. Fine. I dropped it at her feet. You've got 48 hours to sign or we go to court. And trust me, Rachel, you don't want to go to court, because in court, I'll present every email, every receipt, every hotel charge, every lie you told. I'll call Jennifer from accounting to testify about the voicemail. I'll subpoena your phone records. I'll make sure every single person in that courtroom knows exactly what kind of mother you are. I'm a good mother, she whispered. No, you're a selfish person who happens to have a child. There's a difference. A good mother doesn't miss her son's 9th birthday to sleep with her lover. A good mother doesn't steal from her child's college fund to pay for romantic getaways. A good mother puts her child first. You put yourself first. Always. I looked at Mark one last time. You want her? She's yours. But know this. She'll do the same thing to you eventually. Cheaters don't change. They just find new people to cheat on. Then I walked away. Behind me, I could hear Rachel crying, hear Mark trying to comfort her. I didn't look back. I walked through the terminal, through security, to my gate. I had a flight back to Seattle in 2 hours. Back to Eli. Back to the life I was building without her. My phone rang as I sat at the gate. Gerald. Matt, Rachel just called me. She's a mess. What happened? I told him. He was quiet for a long time. Then, you were too hard on her. Was I? She's my daughter, Matt. I love her, even when she's wrong. I know. But you weren't wrong either, about any of it. He sighed. She's going to sign the papers. I'll make sure of it. And I'll make sure she gets help, therapy, whatever she needs to be a better mother to Eli. Thank you. Matt, you're a good father. Better than I was, probably. Eli's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have him. Yes, you are. I hung up and stared out the window at the planes taking off and landing, at all these people going somewhere, leaving somewhere, running from something or towards something else. I felt empty and full at the same time, like I'd crossed some line I could never uncross. My phone buzzed, text from Tom. They signed. It's over. You won. I stared at those words for a long time. You won. But sitting there in JFK Airport, surrounded by strangers, thinking about Eli at home waiting for me, thinking about the house that would feel different now, about the life I'd have to rebuild from scratch, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving. I boarded my flight home, took my seat by the window, watched New York disappear beneath the clouds. The woman next to me was reading a romance novel, one of those ones with the shirtless guy on the cover. She looked up and smiled. Business or pleasure? Neither, I said. Just heading home. She nodded and went back to her book. I closed my eyes and thought about everything I'd done over the past month. The surveillance, the vandalism, the confrontation, the look on Rachel's face when I'd dropped those papers at her feet, the way Mark had stepped back like I might actually hit him. I'd promised David nothing illegal. I'd kept that promise. Everything else, though, the calculated cruelty, the public humiliation, the scorched earth approach to the divorce, that was all me. Matt Harper, boring accountant, predictable husband, had become something else. Someone else. The plane landed in Seattle at midnight. I took an Uber home, paid the babysitter, checked on Eli sleeping in his bed, and then sat in the dark living room for a long time. The house was quiet. Too quiet. For 15 years, this place had been filled with Rachel's presence, her coffee mug in the sink, her shoes by the door, her voice calling from another room. Now it felt like a museum of a life that didn't exist anymore. My phone lit up with a message. Rachel. I hate you. I typed back, I know. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, was it worth it? I looked around the empty living room, at the photos on the wall, our wedding day, Eli as a baby, family vacations that seemed like they'd happened to different people. I thought about the confrontation at the airport, the look in her eyes when she'd realized I wasn't going to forgive her, wasn't going to let this go quietly. Yes, I typed back. Then I blocked her number. The next morning, Eli and I made breakfast together. Pancakes again. His favorite. He told me about his weekend with my sister, about the movie they'd watched, about how his friend Tyler got a new video game. Normal kid stuff. Safe stuff. Mom called Aunt Sarah last night, he said, pouring too much syrup on his pancakes. She was crying. I set down my coffee. Yeah? She said she misses us, misses me. I'm sure she does. Eli pushed his pancakes around his plate. Dad, why did you and Mom break up? This was the question I'd been dreading, the one I'd prepared for but still didn't have a good answer to. How do you tell your 9-year-old son that his mother chose another man over her family? How do you explain betrayal to someone who still believes in superheroes and happy endings? Sometimes adults make mistakes, I said carefully. Big mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes hurt the people they love. Your mom made some choices that hurt our family, and we couldn't fix it. Was it my fault? God, no. I moved around the table and pulled him into a hug. Nothing about this is your fault. Your mom and I both love you more than anything. That never changed. What changed is how we felt about each other. Do you still love Mom? I thought about that. About the girl I'd met in college, the woman I'd married, the stranger she'd become. I love who she used to be, I said finally. But people change, and sometimes they change in ways that mean you can't stay together anymore. He nodded against my chest. Okay. You'll still see your mom. We're working out a schedule, but you'll live here with me, and this will always be your home. Always. Promise? Promise. He pulled back and looked at me with those serious eyes, so much older than 9. Dad? Are you okay? And that was the question that broke me. Because no, I wasn't okay. I was angry and hurt and exhausted and bitter. I'd spent a month plotting revenge, destroying my wife's life, becoming someone I barely recognized. I'd won the divorce, won custody, won everything I'd fought for. But I'd also lost 15 years of my life. Lost the future I'd imagined. Lost the belief that people could be trusted, that love meant something, that doing the right thing mattered. I will be, I told my son. It's going to take some time, but I will be. He hugged me again, and we stayed like that for a while, holding on to each other in our too quiet house. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Rachel signed everything Tom put in front of her. She didn't fight for more custody, didn't argue about the assets, didn't try to negotiate. Gerald had gotten to her, or maybe the confrontation at the airport had broken something in her. Either way, she went along with everything. I got the house, I got primary custody, I got 70% of our assets and a monthly child support check that would help pay for Eli's future. Rachel got supervised visitation every other weekend and the knowledge that she'd destroyed her family for an affair that lasted 3 months after I'd blown it up. Mark Thompson quit his job and moved to California. I heard that from David, who still kept tabs even though I'd stopped paying him. Professional courtesy, he said. Rachel tried to follow him, but Gerald threatened to cut her off entirely if she left the state while Eli was still a minor. She stayed. She got an apartment in Ballard, started therapy, tried to rebuild her relationship with Eli. The first few visits were rough, Eli angry, Rachel defensive, the court-appointed supervisor taking notes. But slowly, painfully, they found a rhythm. She showed up on time. She stayed sober. She asked about his homework and his friends and actually listened to the answers. I watched from a distance, waiting for her to screw up again, waiting for proof that I'd been right about everything. But she didn't screw up. She did the work. She became something like the mother Eli deserved, even if it was too late to save our marriage. 3 months after the divorce, I was cleaning out the garage when I found a box of old photos. Me and Rachel on our honeymoon in Hawaii. Rachel pregnant with Eli, glowing and beautiful. Eli's first birthday, first steps, first day of school. All of us together, smiling, happy, believing we'd have forever. I sat on the concrete floor and looked through every single photo, and for the first time since that voicemail, I cried. Not angry tears or bitter tears, but something deeper. Grief, maybe. For the life we'd had, the life we'd lost, the people we'd been before everything went wrong. When I was finished, I put the photos back in the box and put the box in the attic. Not thrown away, but not on display either, just preserved. Evidence that, once upon a time, we'd been happy. That night, I took Eli out for pizza. We sat in a booth at his favorite place, and he told me about his day, about a girl in his class who'd drawn him a picture about how he'd scored a goal at soccer practice. Normal stuff. Good stuff. "Dad," he said, stealing a pepperoni off my slice. "I think Mom's getting better." "Yeah?" She asked me about school today. Really asked, like she wanted to know. And she remembered my teacher's name. She never remembered before. "That's good, buddy. Do you think—" He hesitated. "Do you think you guys could ever get back together?" And there it was. The question every kid of divorce asks eventually. The hope that maybe, somehow, their parents will fix things and life will go back to normal. "No," I said gently. "We can't. Too much happened, and we can't undo it. But that doesn't mean things can't get better. Your mom is trying, and that's good. She loves you. She's always loved you. But she hurt you. She did, and I hurt her back. That's what happens sometimes when people break each other's trust. But we're both working on being better parents to you, and that's what matters now." He nodded, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. The little kid hope and just a bit more. We finished our pizza and drove home, and I tucked him into bed and read him a chapter of the book we were working through. When he was asleep, I went back downstairs and poured myself a whiskey, something I'd started doing lately, just one drink before bed, just enough to quiet the noise in my head. I stood at the kitchen window and looked out at the backyard, the swing set I'd built for Eli when he was 3, the garden Rachel had planted and abandoned, the deck where we'd had barbecues with friends who'd slowly stopped calling after the divorce. My phone buzzed. "Tom. Drinks tomorrow? Got some people I want you to meet." I knew what that meant. Single friends, divorced friends, people who'd say things like "plenty of fish in the sea" and "best revenge is living well" and all the other useless platitudes people offer when they don't know what else to say. I typed back, "Maybe another time." I wasn't ready for that. Wasn't ready to pretend I was fine. Wasn't ready to date or socialize or be the guy who'd survived his divorce and come out stronger. I was just a father trying to raise his son, a man trying to figure out who he was without the anger and the revenge and the constant calculation of how to hurt the person who'd hurt him. The whiskey burned going down. I poured another. 6 months after the divorce, Rachel asked to meet me for coffee. Just the two of us, no lawyers, no court-appointed supervisors. I almost said no. But something in her message, the lack of manipulation, the straightforward request, made me curious. We met at a Starbucks halfway between our places. She looked different, thinner, older maybe, or just more tired. She'd cut her hair short, stopped wearing the expensive clothes she used to love. She looked like someone who'd been through something. "Thanks for meeting me," she said. "What do you want, Rachel?" She flinched at my tone but didn't argue. I wanted to apologize. Really apologize, not the half-assed attempts I made before. For the affair, for the lying, for missing Eli's birthday, for all of it. Okay? That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? You're forgiven? We're good now? It doesn't work like that. I know. She stared at her coffee. I've been in therapy 3 times a week, and my therapist asked me to list everyone I'd hurt with my choices. The list was long, but you and Eli were at the top. Congratulations on the self-awareness. I deserve that. I deserve worse than that. She looked up at me. Matt, I was selfish and stupid, and I threw away something good because I was bored and scared of getting old and convinced myself I deserved excitement or passion or whatever bullshit I told myself. And I hurt you. I hurt our son, and I can't undo any of it. No, you can't. But I can try to be better. Try to be the mother Eli deserves. Try to move forward without making the same mistakes. I studied her face, looking for the manipulation, the angle, the play. But all I saw was exhaustion and something like genuine remorse. "How's Mark?" I asked. She winced. "Gone. He moved to San Diego, found someone new, someone single and uncomplicated." She laughed, bitter. Turns out he wasn't interested in anything serious, just the excitement of the affair. Once it became real, once there were consequences, he bailed. I could have told you that. You did tell me that. At the airport. She shook her head. I didn't listen. I never listened. That was always my problem. We sat in silence for a while. Around us, people typed on laptops and chatted with friends and lived their normal lives. Nobody looked at us and saw 2 people sitting in the wreckage of their marriage. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Rachel said finally. "I don't deserve it, and I don't expect it. But I wanted you to know that I know what I did. I know what I destroyed. And I'm sorry. That's all. I'm sorry." I nodded. Okay. Okay. I heard you. And I appreciate the apology. But it doesn't change anything. We're divorced. We're co-parents. That's all we're ever going to be. I know. Good. I stood to leave. "Matt," she called after me. "Were you happy? Before all this? Were we happy?" I thought about that. About Sunday mornings and family dinners and the little routines we'd built over 15 years. About the way she used to laugh at my jokes and how we'd finish each other's sentences. About all the small moments that added up to a life. "Yeah," I said. "I was happy. I don't know if you were, but I was." "I was too," she whispered. "I just forgot." I left her there and drove home to Eli, to the house that was finally starting to feel like mine instead of ours, to the life I was building one day at a time. That night, I deleted all the files David had sent me. The surveillance photos, the email transcripts, the timeline of the affair. I erased the burner email account I'd used. I threw away the notes I'd kept, the plans I'd made, all the evidence of who I'd become during the divorce. I didn't need them anymore. The revenge was over. I'd won. And now I had to figure out how to live with what I'd done, who I'd become, the price I'd paid for that victory. Eli came downstairs around 9, unable to sleep. "Bad dream?" I asked. "No, just thinking." "About what?" About you and Mom. About how things used to be. I pulled him onto the couch next to me. Things change, buddy. People change. But some things stay the same. I'll always be your dad. I'll always be here. That never changes. Promise? Promise. We sat together in the quiet house, watching some mindless TV show neither of us cared about. And I realized something. This was enough. This moment, this kid, this life we were building together. It wasn't the life I'd planned, wasn't the future I'd imagined, but it was real, and it was mine, and it was enough. The rage was gone. The need for revenge was gone. All that was left was this, a father and son, surviving together, moving forward one day at a time. Outside, it started to rain, the kind of steady Seattle rain that could last for days. I listened to it hit the windows and felt something in my chest finally loosen, finally let go. Rachel had asked if I was happy before. I'd told her yes. But sitting there with Eli, with the rain falling and the past finally behind us, I realized I'd get there again. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but eventually. I'd survived the betrayal. I'd gotten my revenge, and now I had to learn how to live again. Eli fell asleep on my shoulder. I carried him upstairs, tucked him in, and stood in his doorway watching him breathe. 9 years old, my son. The only thing from my marriage that I'd never regret. Downstairs, my phone buzzed one last time. Rachel, thank you for hearing me out today. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "You're welcome. Be good to Eli." "I will, I promise." I believed her. Maybe that made me stupid, maybe it made me naive. But I chose to believe her anyway, because the alternative was holding on to the anger forever, and I was so damn tired of being angry. I deleted the conversation, turned off my phone, and went to bed.